Hey team, have you ever thought about your prayer life? Have you been one of those people that's like, man, am I allowed to ask God questions when I'm praying? Or what else should I ask? Or what should I say when I pray? Or man, I've got a lot of things that I bring before God in prayer, but He doesn't answer them, or I feel like I'm just asking Him for stuff. If any of those things relate to you, then sit tight in this video because I'm going to try to give you some practical examples of what I've done over the years to learn how to communicate with God. Over the many years of learning how to communicate with God, one of the biggest things I've learned uh, in all my years of ministry, planting churches, being a missionary, serving at churches, being a worship leader, all those things, what I've learned during those times is that people struggle the most with talking with God and hearing Him in prayer on a daily basis. And communication with God is one of the things that can build or hinder our faith more than anything. So, in this drive home from Malawi, I just thought I would chat with you about one of the key things I learned from God about His communication with us. He loves when we ask questions, especially about His heart and about Himself. And so, and He also loves to ask questions back. One of the key characteristics of Father God that I have found over the years is that He loves to ask questions back. Not because He doesn't know the answer, but because He wants us to discover it in and with Him, like a good father would with his children. And so, what I want to talk about today is when you pray, do you ask God questions, or do you just tell Him what it is that you need, what it is that you want help with? And if you do ask questions, I want you to consider, is one of the main questions you continue to ask the question, why? We need to try to eliminate that question as often as possible. Why? Because God doesn't need to tell us why. You know, if there's a general in an army that's telling his team, hey, I need you to go up on that mountain and take that hill up there, and his commanding officers or his soldiers ask him why, he's not going to take a lot of time to explain that. In fact, he might get pretty upset. But if you were to ask that general, hey, what do you want me to know about taking that hill? What do you want me to know about when I get to the other side? That general is going to be excited to tell you what to do next, because that strategy lines up with the heart of what he's doing, the vision of what he's doing. And it shows a position and a posture of you caring for the team, you caring about his responsibility to take care of the team. How much more then with our Father in heaven, when we ask questions and we come to Him in prayer, and some of the first and the majority of what we do is, God, why? Why did this happen? God, why did this happen? Now, I want to punctuate this a little bit with the question why isn't wrong. It's just not one that builds relationship with God if we use it often. God knows that we want to ask why. And many times He probably wants to answer us why. But if it's not going to be in our best interest, and it's not going to build our relationship with Him, and it's not going to build my faith, and it's not going to heal me where I need to be healed, or it's going to just keep bitterness going, man, He's not going to tell me that, because He's a good Father. And so what I want to encourage you to do is to change the questions that you're asking. Change the questions that you're asking God. So when we ask the question why, God doesn't need to tell us why. What He wants to tell us is what, when, how, where, all that. What He wants to do is He wants us to find out about His heart in the situation, and how He's going to take care of us, how He's going to provide for us, how He's going to grow us in the things that we desire in Him. So I'm going to teach you a question. Like I said, I'm going to try to help you with some practical things that will help. I'm going to teach you a question that over the years has really changed my life. And one of those questions is, sorry, I'm on a hill and these little kids in Africa, man, they they try to stop your car and touch your car and stuff, and it gets so dangerous. They're like 6 and 7 years old. The cultural shock here sometimes is more than I can bear because, man, if those were my kids down by the road, whew. Um, but they're trying to round up business and stuff in this little kind of where I'm on a mountain where people do carpentry work and tourism stuff, I guess, and so they're not thinking about their safety. Um, and so the question I've asked over the years, the last 15 years or so, that has really changed my life and really given me the heart of the Father when I'm communicating with Him is, Father, what do you want me to know about this situation? Now, when you really think about that question, it gets to the heart of why. He'll get to it. Like, if you ask Him a question like that, you're asking what His heart for you is. And eventually the why will come out if it's needed. When we find out, when we ask the question why, and that question why gets answered, our mind, will, and emotions, which is our soul, our flesh, has what it needs to try to take control of the situation and for us to try to make it in our own strength. But the point of our relationship with God is that we need Him. And He created us, and He knows what we need and the best we need it. And so when we switch it to, Father God, what do you want me to know about this situation? All of a sudden, He's able to share all kinds of things in Revelation that maybe we didn't even dream of. And so that's one of the questions. I would love to hear from you guys right now about over the years, if you've heard from the Lord, if you've learned to ask the Lord questions, what questions you ask Him. Another question is that you can ask Him is, Father, what do you want me to know about who you say I am in this situation? What do you want me to know about the other person in this situation, the other situation? What do you want me to know about my next step in this situation? Father God, how do you want to provide for me in this situation? Instead of, why is this happening? This always happens to me. Why can't I just find what I want? Why can't I have what I need? Those questions aren't the ones to ask. And then finally, what I want to tell you in this video as well is, not only will it build us up if we can eliminate the why question more than not, but also when we're not hearing from God, even if we've not asked the why question, learn how to change the question. Many times when my kids were younger, they would ask me something and I wouldn't answer them, because it was just what they wanted to hear or whatever. And then they would change the question. So for instance, it was like, hey Dad, can I have a lollipop? Or hey Dad, can I have some candy? And I'm like, no. And then they'd ask again. And I'm like, no. And then they ask again, I just wouldn't answer because they already had their answer. But then if they changed the question, which is what I was really looking for, hey Dad, after lunch, if I've eaten my whole sandwich, can I have a lollipop? Then all of a sudden they change the question and they're asking if that's the issue of my heart for not letting them have candy. And so now I'm like, okay, actually, yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't we do that? They switched the question up and made it a conversation versus just what they wanted. And so that's part of what we do to help our children grow. And so I would encourage you as well that if God's not answering your question, He wants to have a conversation with you. Maybe you're just asking the wrong question. Change the question up, and oftentimes the Father will ask you a question back. Oftentimes God will just answer the question that you changed it to, because you're really trying to have a dialogue about what He sees best for the situation, for everything, for His will, for you, for your family, for the people that are around you that are involved, for the situation. There's so many different things that we don't think about when we're asking the questions, that if we'll just change it, the conversation becomes this unbelievable revelation with the Lord. And so I'm going to leave you with a little key that's also going to lead me into the next video that I'm going to do for you guys, which is going to be on how just because you have revelation doesn't mean that you have permission to share it. But I'm going to leave you with this little tip before I go, and it's this. Remember this. Every revelation is an invitation to more conversation with God. Till the next one, walk in faith, go in courage.